Okay, alrighty. Hey guys, Yakwe, Mogitin, and Lenwo. My name is Brittany. I run Micronesian Viral, and I come from the islands of Yap and Koshrai, and my husband is from Marshall Islands and Kiribati. And so I just want to say thank you guys for taking the time. I know you guys have a lot of busy schedules and everything. And we come together to, on these Zooms, like every few months, just to talk about topics that are important to us, especially within our Micronesian community. And so thank you, Nels, and thank you, May, for, inviting me to these spaces to talk about these things and also making new friends, networking with other people. I'm super grateful to you guys. So I'm excited for today and the two guests that we have speaking. But before we go ahead and get into things, why don't we go ahead and introduce ourselves? I guess what we can do is you can say what your name is, what islands you're representing, and also I guess last time we did favorite foods. Maybe this time we can do favorite song. It could be, if it's not an island song, that's totally fine. But it could be like your favorite. It could be your favorite island song, yeah. Whether it's Micronesian or reggae, whatever is related to Pacific Islands. So, yeah, I guess my favorite island song right now is I really like this. I don't know if you guys listen to Yappy's music, but there's this song called Fai, Faay, and it's by Leah Rikin, and she's known for a lot of Yappy's music, and that song is it's about drinking on the beach. I'm not really a drinker, but it just sounds really good, so I like vibing to that song. But I guess I'll go ahead and pass it on to Nels.
Um, Sorry, y'all. I don't know if y'all can hear me. Can you give me a thumbs up if you can hear me well? Okay, perfect. Thank you, Britt. Thank you, everyone, for taking the time and being here with us. My name is Nelly, but they call me Nels for short, or Nell. I represent the island of Chuk, Uvad, and Wada. You already know. Hold it down. My favorite island music right now, all time, it just came up last night too when I was driving with my cousin, but Morning Ride by Fiji, that kind of gets some people in the mood of, whatever. But that's my all-time favorite. Thank you everyone for taking the time, and I'm just gonna do it popcorn style, so I'll just pass it to the next person that is on the right of me, and I'm going to start with Chase.
Nels, did you say me? All right. Um, Nikuriaranim, everyone. My name is Jayceleen. I come from the island of Chuk. All over from Chuk. I'm a representation of so many islands of Chuk, but I was born and raised in Tunuk, so I rep Tunuk to the fullest. Um, yes, Nelly is my auntie. Um, but island songs, I don't know. Um, I like a little bit of everything, but it depends on my mood. Nothing in particular right now, but I find myself more and more listening to the Chuki's OG songs like Surai Severe Chuki's, you know what I mean, right? I used to detest those things, but I don't know what that means right now, but that's that's what I'm going with right now. And I will go with Simeon.
Hi, good afternoon, Casalelia. My name is Simeon. Ripping Pompe, specifically Pingala, the artist or favorite song at the moment. There's an OG artist named Larry, and he just recently came out with the song on Spotify called Coronavirus, and it kind of slaps. I'll pass it to Trina.
Hey everyone, Raranim. I don't know if I'm supposed to say Raranim. I'm still trying to learn Chukis. But I represent Chuk specifically. My mom's side's from Peria and the dad's side's from Nugorots. And I already forgot. Oh, island songs. I'm also getting reacclimated to island music because I feel like I go through phases of different genres. Like I get tired of a genre and then I stop listening to it. But recently, I found out that Daniel Ray Costello's music is available on Apple Music now. So I've been on this Daniel Ray Costello kick. So that's what I have to contribute. I don't know who's next. I think Deshawn's next on my screen.
Thank you. Hi, my name is Deshawn. I'm from Chuk and specifically the island of Poloat in the Northwest. Like many of you, I listen to all kinds of music. I really love just listening to any kind of genre. And my go-to island artist would be, you can't go wrong with Sammy J or Fiji. They always drop some good bops. And I love Palauan music, like the way they talk and the way the flow of their words, it's something else entirely. So yeah, thank you. I'm gonna pass it to Bradley.
Hello. Hold up, is my camera working? I'm not sure. Oh, hi. Hi, guys. Kasaleria Mangot. My name is Bradley. I'm from Pohnpei, specifically from Kichi. I would say my favorite song would be like this one song called Simple Days by Eddie Dino. Not sure if y'all are very familiar with him, but I sent his name up in the group chat. So if y'all ever want to jam to some random dude from the islands, like go for it. He has some really good music. Yeah. And I'm not really sure who's after me, but I'm gonna pass it to Gracelyn. Did you know?
Name. Hi everyone. My name is Gracelyn Enlet. Like Jayceleen, I represent a lot of islands in Chuk, but I was raised in Sapuk, so I'm gonna hold it down for Sapuk. My favorite song right now is, well, I like many different island songs, but right now I'm just listening to 24/7 by Common Kings. And yeah, nice to be here with all of you. I'll pass it on to Layla Afu.
Welcome, Layla and Kiki. For those who have just tuned in, we're just introducing ourselves and what island we come from and what is our current favorite island music. Yes, you can also utilize the chat box if you don't want to speak. That's also all right.
Yes, thank you guys for coming. Yeah, utilize the chat box. You please don't feel obligated to speak. But I guess we can go with Angela.
Hey guys, so I am Angela Edwards. Sorry, I look a mess. I just got home. But I am out in Michigan. I run the For Micronesians by Micronesians podcast and Instagram page. And then I'm also a mental health therapist. I have my own practice. It's called Castellao Counseling and Consultation. So that's Castellao. Obviously, my family is from Pohnpei and Pinglap. And Simeon kind of had the same one as me. So the big one that I would say everyone should listen to in general is Larry Ori. He actually just recently, not recent, but within the past year moved to the US. He's out in the Southwest Missouri area, and my brother-in-law was able to have him at his birthday party, and felt like he was like with the most famous person in the world. So I would recommend him to everybody because he's amazing. So yeah, I think it could be wrong, but maybe I'll go with Kiki.
Thank you, Angela. Kiki got hers in the chat box.
Darn, I don't know who to call.
You're good, Angela. Thank you. I think that's pretty much it. Did we have Gracelyn go?
Yeah, Grace went.
Okay. All right.
We have Layla, but she just wrote it in the chat box.
Okay, awesome. Welcome, Layla. Welcome, everybody. Thank you guys for participating in our introductions. Today, our theme for this month is Asian American Pacific Islander Month. And, we want to put ourselves in the spotlight. Our people, I can't say this enough, our people are so underrated. Our goal is just to get ourselves out there and have people know who we are, especially with all crazy stuff going on today, but with us coming together and lifting each other up, it really helps us to have some sanity. It keeps us very passionate about who we are. And so I know Nell has a few questions she's going to bring up and ask for our guests and whoever wants to participate. So the podcast that we do, they're very laid back. Anybody can answer the questions after our guests go ahead and answer them. So yeah, I'll let you go ahead and take over now.
Thank you so much. So just a little bit of brief background of what we do in these Zoom meetings. We don't just chill with our tea or coffee and, catch up, but we also bring awareness to the important topics that's happening today in our community. First of all, our well-being. We are such resilient communities. Like, we are utilizing the technology as Micronesians, wherever you are, during a pandemic. So first, thank you all for being well and being here today and for the introduction. You're very brave and you're appreciated. I know sometimes it's a little weird when we come together on like the technology, Zoom, and we also have to recognize that not everybody in our community has access to the Zoom, right? And it's very privileged that we are here, or we even have access and these devices to be on and talking. So with that being said, we host these every month starting from, I think it was March. Britt, May, and I came together to just talk about a space where we can have these conversations and also bring in our community members that we would love to hear from. And today we have Jayceleen, Ifenuk, and Deshawn, Romolow. So both are Chukis, so shout out. The other months we have different guests, but they're also from different islands. And I hope that this keeps going. So just a brief background on like what we talk about. And I know this was posted on Traveling Scato, and it's basically a conversation between us, right? It's by us, for us. What is going on, what will be going on, what we can do. I feel like personally, like Britt, you mentioned, we are very underrated. Like, we're literally a revolution simply by existing, right? Like the work that we do, the spaces that we take up, we're a revolution, whether that's individually or collectively. But I just want to say that this space really started because in me and May's experience, we're really used to being invited as the tokenized Micronesian into polycentric spaces. And I know that a lot of the time we go into these spaces kind of lost as Pacific Islanders, especially Micronesians, because it's like the underrated community, right? It's the minority within the minority. And a lot of the times the Micronesian issues or conversation, they're very like overshadowed because under the API is like, everybody is within, but we're like definitely the minority within the minority, which that's how this space came about. And I know that May could say something when she has the chance for the connection. But yeah, I just wanted to highlight why we started this conversation space, right? And it's not limited for you to hop in while these questions are being asked, okay, of the guests. But anyways, with that being said, the theme for this month is definitely how do you bring awareness in the spaces that you take up? As a Micronesian, or it's yourself. Um, so whichever our guest wants to go first, y'all can decide that between y'all. But I'm going to ask the first question, and that is, what are Micronesians to you, and what type of Micronesians do you think that you are? And Deshawn and Jayceleen, you guys can take away the space.
Jayceleen can go first.
Okay, Sean, thank you. What are Micronesians to you, to me, and what type of Micronesian am I? That's a full question. I don't know what type of Micronesian I am, but that, growing up, I wasn't really, it took me a while to be fully aware that Micronesian is even a term. That, just that question, who am I? It took me a while. I grew up in a culture where we're about serving everyone first before ourselves. So that in itself was a learning process for me growing up outside of Chuk. Just being in every space and being aware that there's more to what's happening. There's this feeling in my heart and in my mind that's telling me that there's something going on there. But as I grew up, that was a learning process to really stop that and take that moment to just kind of process it, what's going on in my heart, what's going on in my head. And growing up, there was a Disney channel called, I think it was Living the Best of Both Worlds. I forgot the exact title. But as I got to high school, then I realized that I was living, I don't know if I can say I was living two different worlds, but I titled my life Living the Best. Yes, Hannah Montana, Living the Best of Both Worlds. I don't know if it was the best of both worlds, but I just had this, yes, there were moments where I'm like, okay, why can't I just be like all my other, classmates, they're out with their friends. That, it was hard for me to even ask, can I go out with my friends? But I have those moments to myself where I had to think about it, like, okay, yes, it's unfortunate that I'm not like my friends, they're out freely, but there are so many moments where I had to think, how blessed I was to be a Chukis. Most of the time I couldn't go out because there was always something going on in the family. But that in itself was a blessing that I had my family. They played a huge contribution to my upbringing and the woman that I am today. Go ahead, Sean.
Thank you for that. That was really insightful. What are Micronesians to you? Growing up, so I was born in Oregon. I didn't stay in the States very long. I think I was around 2 or even younger than that when we moved to Pohnpei. And I lived in Pohnpei for a long time, until like 5th grade. Then I moved to Guam and lived in Guam until I finished middle school. Then I moved to Chuk and I went to high school in Chuk. And then now I'm here for, furthering education. So that's a very tough question in and of itself, but to me, I've been exposed to all these different mannerisms of Micronesians, right? I lived in Pohnpei for the longest time. I thought I was Pohnpeian. I used to know how to speak Pohnpeian. I could understand it fluently. Then I moved to Guam, and for those of you who don't know, there's like a lot of tension between Chukis and Chamorros, especially during the time that I was there. And so, Chukis were always seen as bad. And so I didn't want to be bad. I was one of those wannabe Chamorros. I always wanted to, because like that was as closest as you can get to being American, right? Just like you see in the movies. It wasn't until I went to high school to Xavier that I really started to understand and appreciate who I am and where I come from. And just from that, experience, Micronesians are family. I have so many Palauan friends, Pohnpeian friends, Kashayan friends, Marshallese friends, you name it, from all over Micronesia. And I know that there are people out there that, if I'm anywhere, if I'm lost or if I need help, they're gonna help me no matter what at the drop of a dime. Like we've become so close. So to answer that question, Micronesians are family to me. Even when I come out here, I'm in the States and I find like, random Micronesians, I will go up to them and be like, hey, are you Micronesian? Are you Chukis? Are you Pohnpeian? And then, if they need anything, I'm willing to help as much as I can. Just like the way you would help your family. I see all Micronesians as my family, or I try to make it so. I'm like the only Islander in my school. It's all the way in New Jersey. There are mainly a lot of Filipinos, and I hang out with them a lot. But I'm like the only Islander, so whenever I come across any Islanders, I just go and help them. I call up my old friends from my old high school classmates every now and then if I know that they're like by themselves in their own schools, and check up on them. Right. What type of Micronesian do I think I am? That is a very interesting question. So, like I said, I grew up in all these different places, and not to say that the Chukis aspect of my like who I am was never there. It's always present. I always spoke Chukis at home. I only spoke English in schools. Every Saturday we'd always like make local food and all kinds of stuff. I learned how to make local food. I even spent some time out on the island Polot. So I like to think that from my experience, the type of Micronesian I am is one that's, I don't know, very conscious of, other Micronesians and Micronesian cultures, right? Because it can be so easy to like, just be aware of where you're at. Like you live your whole life in Chuk, you're just gonna be thinking about Chuk and like how you can make Chuk better. But I've met so many people from other places, and not even just in Micronesia, right? I have a lot of Samoan friends and Tongan friends, and even from Latin America. I gain experience and I learn from all these different people and their cultures, and even like from different places in history. I just think it's so interesting. So what am I saying? I love to learn. So I guess you could say like I'm just a sponge kind of Micronesian, just learning about everything, learning about everyone. I'm not exactly, trying to be someone or like a different culture. I know and I'm very proud to be Chukis, and I'm very proud of where I come from. But, it's so interesting how there's so many things that we have in common and that we can share in wherever we are in the world. Thank you.
May I just share that I was a bit taken aback by that question. What type of Micronesian do you think you are? Oh gosh, and here comes the tears. As a Micronesian or Chukis woman growing up outside of Chuk, that question almost has a negative connotation to it. Part of living the best of both worlds, right? You're gonna be judged, even amongst your own people. I've always had that question growing up, like, what type of Chukis are you? Where am I going with this? But it's you know, that there were moments where I really felt like I couldn't fit in anywhere, even amongst my peers who were Chukis. Even having a book in my hand, it was kind of like I wasn't, I didn't fit into their groups. It's, I know, yeah, Trina, like you said, it's so layered, but that's another block that I had to grow up with as a young Chukis woman.
Thank you both for sharing so much. And I understand exactly what you are talking about, Chase. The best of both worlds. I actually word this question and make this question the way it is because it's so layered, right? And that's what all of us, that's what our experiences is about. It's very layered. Even the who am I question as a Micronesian, like that's a layered question. Because the type of Micronesian that I think I am is not the type of Micronesian that my community thinks I am, right? Let alone the type of Micronesian you think you are, even if we coexist in the same space. But I'm so happy that you also recognize that with emotions, that this question could be triggering, right? And, you know, respectfully, I'm not here to start shit. Let's get it right. But it is to stir up the pot to like, okay, how does this question make me feel as a Micronesian woman, as a Chukis woman, as a Micronesian man, as a Chukis man? Like, it's all so layered, and we all feel differently when we answer these questions. And Chase and Deshawn, like you guys are speaking from so many like different experiences. So I really, really appreciate you answering, even honestly, about how it made you feel. As you should. Period. If anyone wants to hop in onto this question, you're very welcome to elaborate if you want.
I also want to share because honestly, the two of you, when you guys said your thoughts and when you guys shared, it just really moved me so much. Like, honest to God, I never really felt this moved as to say something, to share something, because those thoughts were very powerful and it really hits close to home. So, Micronesians to me have, I would say, Micronesians are a very underrated people and it's a very beautiful experience to witness all of these different cultures and all of these different peoples. Like each and every single individual has their own like good quirk about them. You know, it's like there's so many things about Micronesians that are just beautiful and like something that you just look back. It's the type of thing that I just look back and say, I'm very proud to be Micronesian. I'm proud to be part of this minority group, this group of people who have different cultures, different languages, different experiences, and all of you guys are so strong. And I am very happy to be a part of this Micronesian community. And as for the type of Micronesian I am, I would say I am a misplaced Micronesian and I am fighting for my spot. Because I'm not gonna lie, literally everywhere I go, I am, as you guys can see, most Micronesian, like all of my life I grew up, people kept on asking me, are you American? Like no matter where I go, I'm never asked, are you Micronesian? Or like even on my home island in Hawaii or even out here, I don't really expect people to say like out here to expect that I'm Micronesian. But if I'm not even recognized back home, it really hits close to home because like I feel like I've lost my place in our society for so long until I went to my high school and I got like I started to close myself off like back in middle school. Like I was so insecure about many things. Uh, my accent is weird, not gonna lie. People even expressed those thoughts to me, and I felt like I couldn't speak my language, like one of my birth given rights, for so long because it was so hard to say anything without being weird, considered weird or being an outcast. So I decided to cut myself off from my community for so long. And when I went to high school and I met Deshawn and so many other people at my high school, different cultures, I just realized that like I met so many wonderful people. They all have different takes on life, different cultures, and that was just a very life-changing moment from going to high school, meeting all these different people, and like they helped me get back on my like on the road to try to become a micro, not become a Micronesian, more like I'm trying to reconnect with those Micronesian roots of mine that I have casted away for so long because it has somewhat affected me growing up. And yes, I would say I'm a misplaced Micronesian and I'm still fighting for my spot. So thank you guys very much. And I appreciate you guys for listening.
Thank you so much, Bradley, for speaking on that. You highlighted such a like, big section of how our youth is feeling, how we all feel sometimes. Misplaced Micronesian. Mm, that's some food for thought to go away from, to be honest. I really appreciate all of you for sharing that. That's very like, I don't know, there's a lot of us that even if we're not back home, I mean, even if we are back home, we still feel out of place because of so many different things that we as the Micronesians that exist have different interest in, or speak different. It's all very different, and sometimes we're even judged by our own people. Like, come on now, y'all need to chill. Y'all need to chill and accept everybody for who they are, because everybody's different. Even the Micronesians, there's no such thing as one Micronesian. In fact, that's why this question is being asked, because in a way, Bradley, I don't think you have to fight for your spot. You're only owning your spot right now. You're honing into your spot. Let me just tell you that, brother. You are honing your spot and your power, okay? And I feel like a lot of the time we do get off track because we forget where we come from. That doesn't have to be a place. That can be a group of people, family. And I just want to share this quote um, that I heard while I was in DC. I was kind of like this like lost child. I also feel out of place sometimes, Chase, I feel you with the whole holding my book and then everybody's like, what are you doing? You can't read here. Like, but I was in DC and this man, he was Serbian, and he said, you don't know where you're going until you know where you came from, right? And he was specifically talking to, I felt like a room of 300 people. I felt like he was speaking to me directly because I felt so out of place in a lot of the spaces that I took up. And I also felt like I was walking on two paths of like two worlds. It's like I had to choose, but in fact, I don't. Like, I'm a Chinese woman in America, accept me just the way I am. And we don't have to fight for our place. We are honing in our space. So thank you all for sharing on that. If you have anything to say regarding this question, if I move on, you can always bring the conversation back.
Can I just add something?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
a while back, I saw on the For Micronesians by Micronesians Instagram, there was this one post, was it racial imposter syndrome? And I think Angela can, expand more on that, but like basically is you don't feel welcome in like your own communities, right? Like Bradley was saying, Jace was saying, I don't speak with an accent. I have like people say like, oh wow, you sound American. Like your English is so good. That's because I learned how to speak English by watching movies, and I read a lot of books to work on my grammar. So I came a long way to be where I'm at now. But the point is like we don't fit in to where we belong. We don't feel like we belong because other people say that we don't belong, even though we do, right? Sometimes when they bring local food out to Washington, and there's like, God, or pura. And I'm like eating with them. My aunties are like, what? You eat that stuff? What? You're not American? Like, no, I know how to make this. I grew up eating this. Like, you can't just expect me to fit into this little box that you set out for me. You know, I'm not made in your image. I am who I am. So yeah, racial imposter syndrome. When I saw that post, I broke down. Like, I've never related so much, and it's so true that it hurts, you know. So I just wanted to put it out there. Thank you.
Yes, we love to see, love to hear it. Angela, thank you for posting that.
Thank you guys. I didn't know if you wanted me to talk a little bit on it. I know the reason I had posted it is because I had heard a really great episode of Code Switch, their podcast, and it was about racial imposter syndrome. And so when I actually started my process in therapy, that was really all that I wanted to concentrate on, because I was having a hard time, like really feeling like I fit in with my American friends, but also feeling like I didn't fit in with like my Micronesian family and friends as well. And so I'm really glad that, you know, that the post was, that it resonated with a lot of people, because I do think that a lot of us have those feelings. And I love the Hannah Montana reference, because it really is true. Like but we are, a lot of us are straddling two worlds. And I do think it's definitely a conversation it's an important topic to discuss.
Thank you so much. If you don't mind, I'm going to move on to the second question. And it also relates to the first question. Some of you kind of hit the points on this question, but the second question is, what does the spaces look like to you that you take up right now? And do you find yourself as a Micronesian, like being the only one, or with a lot of people like our people? What does your space look like right now? I guess is the question.
I've been blessed to be surrounded by people like me, people who it's a difference from what I grew up with in Hawaii, and it just kind of it progressed over time, I believe. Right now, with all the different things that I'm doing, I'm still in the spaces where you know, there are our Pacifica brothers and sisters, and Kiki's here, and I'm glad she's here because she's also in those spaces that I share. And we are people that we understand that we're one people of the Pacific, and we understand each other and we care for each other. But I've just taken up a new job, and that it's in the interpreting realm, and of course, majority white, right? But somehow it kind of just worked out where they they're aware of the things that are going on. They're aware, you know, and they want to promote health equity through interpreting. And I'm glad that I share that space with them, and I just kind of see all of these things that I'm doing kind of come together. So yes, there's so many unfortunate events going on, but I'm also very grateful that, you know, there's this almost contradicting, my world is a bit contradicting right now. You know, there's so many beautiful things going on, and then there's also all of this negativity and violence going on. But I see kind of everything that I'm doing come full circle, and, you know, kind of growing that support and whatever that we can do to help with the negativity that's going on.
Hey, Nels, can you just repeat that question again? I think I kind of.
Yes. What does your space look like right now as a Micronesian? And do you find yourself being the only one?
Oh, okay. So currently I'm in Washington staying with family because of COVID. And I've been staying here for about a little bit more than a year. And uh like I said, I went to school. I go to school in Jersey. I still do school online. I'm going back next semester. And I'm literally the only Pacific Islander that I know of over there because everyone's like, "Oh, you're like, where are you from? You look Filipino." That's how I got involved with the Filipinos. Then all my friends, most of my friends are from the Dominican Republic, so I got put into this the Latinx organization on campus. I got involved with that, and at first when I chose to go to school in Jersey, like the school had everything that I needed or that I wanted or was looking for. And I went out there, and for the first couple of weeks, it was like, man, independence. I'm out here by myself. I can do things by myself. The city's like a 30-minute train ride away. I can go out and explore. I'm literally adulting. And then little by little, it starts to creep in like, wow, there's so many people here. I know so many people here. I've made so many friends, but I feel so alone because there's no one here around me that's like me, or at least understands my culture and like what it's like to be where I'm from. The Filipino community, they've lived in that area for all their life. Most of them know each other because they went to school with each other in high school or something, and they're all American born and raised, right? And not to say that's a bad thing. It's just I have amazing friends, but it's so hard for them to relate to some of the things that I my experiences that I try to introduce or bring up. And I don't sound like I'm exotic. I look Filipino. I don't sound exotic. I sound like I've been living here in the States for all my life. So that also kind of takes a turn when my professors are like, "Hey, so Deshawn, where are you from?" I'll be like, "Oh, I'm from out of state." It's like, where I was out of state? I'd be like, "Oh, I'm from Micronesia." And I have to explain the whole process. Like, where's Micronesia? I'm from, there's like, is it in the islands? I'm like, yes, it's in the South Pacific. It's like, how close is it to Hawaii? And now it's always to Hawaii. And I'm not saying anything bad about Hawaii, but sometimes it gets exhausting trying to explain who you are and where you come from, right? Because there's a lot to unpack, like unload, right? And sometimes some parts of our history, they need to know, right? Like they should know about, because America has done so much to us, like as well as for us, right? Like the nuclear testing in the Marshall Islands. Well, that's the biggest one. A lot of people here don't know about that. So like overall, just being the only Micronesian in a space is very exhausting. And as much as it is exhausting, like there comes this like need to, I don't know, to show people that hey, I'm here. I'm not invisible. I'm definitely not an invisible person. When I step into a room, I'm with everybody. Like I'm always talking, I'm loud, I'm vibing, so I try to use that, my personality, to be like, hey, they're like, man, Deshawn, you're so cool. And I was like, yeah, you know what? There's like 100,000 more people like me, even more that are like me, and they're all around America. They're all out in the South Pacific. So you should probably look into this stuff. So I guess I'm not pushing propaganda, but I'm kind of trying to make them like, hey, you think I'm cool? Look at these people, they're even better. I love to sing, I'm not the best singer. When people are like, man, Deshawn, man, you can sing. I was like, bro, my boy AS, he's like a singer. He's like a local celebrity. You should listen to him. And I put him on to like all kinds of music. And at first, they're all kind of weird, like, oh, what did I step into? But pretty soon, like, once they start to get to know me, they're like, oh, this is actually stuff that, interests me and that I should pay attention to, right? I feel like I'm talking about. What was the second part of that question?
You basically hit the point. In fact, you went into at the third question, which is awesome.
Okay, I'm gonna just stop here and then we'll move on.
No, Deshawn, I love hearing you share your experience. I'm gonna add on to the point you made about the educating part could be exhausting. Being the only Micronesian in the space is exhausting. I've actually I kind of stopped participating in talks like this. I had to step back a bit because it gets exhausting, and it got to the point where I felt like we were some type of scientific experiment. And just hearing, we want to learn more about Micronesians, what can we do with Micronesians in this situation? It got exhausting, and it was like I felt like a scientific experiment. So I had to step back.
Also, oh sorry. Also, when they do that and they ask you all these big questions, right? You're like explaining your experiences and the experiences of your people, the history of your people, and like we've suffered a lot. And then when they hit us with the hard hitting questions, like, oh, what do you think we should do? Like I don't know all the answers, right? What do you think you should do? How can you help? Don't ask me what I want you to do, because you know what you need to do. You know how you can do it. It's up to you. I'm just here telling you what you've done to us and how I've been impacted by it. So I just wanted to add on to that, because yes, Jace, you're so right. You are so right.
But can I also say that you don't really have to know or learn about a certain person, or, where a person is coming from to treat them with respect or treat them like human beings. Like that's humanity. We should, it goes beyond the racial hatred. It's really looking within yourself, like just treat each other right. That's what it is.
Snaps. Y'all can't hear it because I'm on mute, but I was snapping because, first of all, y'all just hit a very big point. In fact, we just experienced something recently in our own community in Hawaii regarding this humility in the way that we live outside of our own country. Like, first of all, you don't have to know everything about us for you to be nice to us, for you to be human, I don't know, be a decent human and not be an asshole. Excuse my French. But it's like, James, you just literally highlighted like why I stepped back from these spaces. Deshawn, we're exhausted. We're exhausted of telling you like, no, I'm Micronesian in a way, right? All these questions being asked on like, what can we do? What can we do? In fact, I think, let me just speak from my personal experience recently. Like, when I moved to this country, I'm a Micronesian, a Chuukese who came from Chuuk, right? So my experience is definitely different from my cousins. But in my personal life recently, I had some professional people who were like, what can we do? What can we do for our Chuukese and Micronesian people in the school district? I was like, hire me. It's like, holy the fuck, like I know more. Like there's so many questions you can ask and ask and ask, but you will not know how to. You will just exhaust us and ask the parents like questions that they don't even know. So, well, anyways, I'm hired. But I just want to say, like, it's important that we take ourselves out of another person's narrative of trying to write for us and actually write it ourselves. And I'm grateful that you guys brought up these questions, because I see it in my personal life. Like I'm literally being the person that my 5th-grade-year-old self needed, right? When I first moved to this country. Like I am being that bitch. I'm being that person who I needed, and I'm being that person for the students and I hope that I can be the person that they need. So, learn to rest, but we will not quit. But we are changing the narrative because we are exhausted. So thank you both for really highlighting that. Oh, Jesus. Anyways, shall we move on to the third question, or does anybody want to elaborate on what is being said? You can also bring the conversation back. No limits. With that being said, the fourth question or third question, I lost track, is, you guys hit the points already, but it's how do you think you bring awareness to about your community in the space that you take? And it can be an example, or it can be like right now, life, what you're doing right now, or it could be like what you did to lead you to where you are right now. How do you think you bring awareness?
Just being in the space. And I think we already touched on all the exhaustion part of it. So really, all I do right now is just fill up the space. And I can be looked at as someone who's quiet, who's shy, but really, I'm not gonna answer it. You're just gonna have to watch me and learn from that.
Yeah, I'm always like I wouldn't say like the life of the party, you know, but I'm always someone that you notice when you walk into a room, because like I'm always either gonna do something, I'm gonna say something, I'm like loud, you know. I a lot of people tell me I have presence, and I'm not bragging, but like I try to take advantage of that to, you know, share who I am, where I come from, to all these other people, right? I try to relate my experiences, especially when I'm in another like, you know, Islander setting, right? Like if I were in, like when I was in Guam, sometimes I think back on like, you know, what if I were like back in middle school and people come at me with all these kind of stuff, you know, they tease me, they make fun of me for being Chukis and not wanting being a wannabe Chamorro and all that. Like I think back on these and I'd be like thinking back on my comebacks, right? Like this is stuff that happened years ago, but then it's so relevant today because, you know, people have to know. And there's a lot of tension between Chukis and Chamorros, or Chamorros and against Micronesians, even though they are one, right? They are Micronesians. And like I grew up there, so I know how it goes down. There's always fights in schools, and a lot of people who are misinformed, and you know they don't know the whole story, and they just come at us like how they're doing in Hawaii. You know, not to say that there are no bad people or bad Micronesians, but it's like it's not. You can't say bad Micronesians because we're just people, right? People, if you focus on one group setting, if you focus on a stereotype, then everyone's gonna believe that. And that's what everyone's gonna direct their focus to, right? There are bad people, not bad Micronesians. I'm just talking a lot. Anyways, yeah, I take advantage of my presence to, you know, spread awareness. And yes, it can get exhausting, but you know, someone has to do it, right? And I kind of put it on myself because, you know, I put myself in that situation by being the only Islander in freaking New Jersey. So I have an obligation, a duty to do it because I put myself in that kind of situation. Thank you.
I think it was Angela, or for Micronesians by Micronesians, that put out those memes about it's, you know, if you're Micronesian, it's okay to be, and there were several. But I really want to encourage that. You know, as a Chukis or Micronesian, we are almost afraid to take care of ourselves because we have to make sure that we don't step on anyone's foot. We have to make sure that we don't disrespect anyone. But I've come to realize, to be able to take care of yourself, it's okay. It's okay to say, it's okay to step back. It's okay to not say anything. It's okay to just feel, feel the stuff without attitude. And there's so many more to that. It's okay.
Yeah.
I totally agree with that. I'm what you're saying is facts. Hell yeah. That part that you were talking about, like we don't want to step on people's toes. That is so ingrained into us, right? Because it is our culture to be humble and hospitable, to have this sense of humility, and that's how we like share our culture to other people. And in the islands, that's known. It's like fact. It's a given fact. Everyone knows that. But then you come out here where everybody's just trying to run over everybody to get what they want, right? It's more of it's a selfish kind of way they serve themselves, right? And you're right. I've come to realize as well that you're always going to offend somebody out here. Think of like what's a great example? The Bikini Atoll, that beer that they tried to make, right? That was a whole big thing because we're like, hey, you can't profit off of our suffering. But then there are people out there that are like, hey, this is just beer, man. Relax. Like, no, people will be offended. And to those that to those that to those islanders who are put in that situation where just them being who they are and having the experiences that they have, like just them being there and offending somebody, like to those islanders, I say to you, like, go ahead, full on, straight up offend them, because you're not the one offending them. They're taking offense in you, right? Like they woke up and chose violence for no reason. Like, for why? So like, just do you the best way you can do, right? There's no right way to try and get the word out there, to try and share your experiences, because there's always going to be some person that's going to be negative about it, right? uh if you try to speak up and while being a minority, there's always going to be problems. You can see that in America. Look at the news and you'll see what they're doing, right? Palestine people, the Palestinians are like literally dying, and America is still being the ones that's funding them. Black Lives Matter. There's still a lot of people who are like, they should have complied. No, they did comply, but they still died. Like, I'm going off on a tangent, but I'm very passionate about who I am, right? Because I love my people. For the longest time, I used to not want to be Chukis. When I was in Guam, people would be like, man, Chukis are this and that. Chukis are this and that. Chamorros are better. So I used to be ashamed. I used to be ashamed and embarrassed to be who I was and where I'm from. Every time there was a PTA meeting, I would be like, Mom, no, it's okay. You don't have to go. I already talked to my teacher. Like, I now that I know who I am and I'm okay and I'm proud of where I come from, like, I'm just so passionate about it, because no one should have to go through that to where they hate who they are and where they come from because other people tell them to hate themselves. You know what I mean? Like, that's why I'm just so passionate about this. Like, that's why I try to have a presence so that I can share who I am and where I come from, because people need to know that, we are good people too. We are people, period. That's it. We are humans, and I would, and like, I would just say this personally. I think a lot of these Americans, they need to know a little bit something about our culture, because they just gotta relax, man. They gotta chill. They have to show some humility, right? You know who I'm talking about. Y'all need some person out there, maybe a Karen or something, that just comes at you for no apparent reason. So yeah, sorry for going off, but I said what I said and I meant it. Thank you.
As you should, and we really appreciate it. Thank you, thank you. Also, Trina, the offering plates. Thank you so much for both of you for sharing. Ooh, what a powerhouse, y'all. This space is for, right? Encouraging each other to keep recognizing who we are, owning in our power so we don't have to fight for a space, right? Simply by existing, we are a revolution, period. Both of y'all hit on the last question, and that is, or a little bit on the last question, and that is, what advice would you give your younger self or a younger Micronesian? And I think that'll be our last question for the day. Sorry for taking up an hour of y'all time.
Deshawn, you want to go first on this one?
Huh? My bad. Can you repeat the question? I was just like popping off because I think Kiki said we gotta put that colonizer voice that oppresses us on mute. Like, yo, facts. I agree with that. So I'm sorry. Please, can you repeat the question?
Big facts to that too. The last question is, what advice would you give to your younger self or to a younger Micronesian?
Just be happy, be proud that you are who you are, be proud that you are where you come from. You know, there's always gonna be negatives wherever anybody come from. Like, literally, there's the 1% is 1% for a reason. Those people are born with a silver spoon up their ass, so you don't got to worry about them. Just worry about you. You might come from a broken household or a toxic family, but they don't define who you are individually, right? Just be proud of who you are and where you come from, because there's so many good things about you and your culture, right? Your people. There's so many good things and beautiful things about that. So just be proud. You know, if I could go back to Guam in 2011, I would slap myself in the face and be like, man, trying to be. I had the, like, you know, straight white hair that kind of like went down like you see in those Disney Channel shows. Like, I would have slapped myself in the face and be like, yo, be proud of your wavy hair, man. Stop trying to be Chamorro. Just be Deshawn. Be you. You know, go out there and, like, there were a lot of Chuukese kids hanging around the gym and I think different hallways of the school. And I would always try to go out of my way to avoid them because, like, you know, I always thought they're bad. They're always doing drugs. I'd be like, no, man, go over there, say hi. You know, those are your people. I went to school with my cousin for 3 years. I didn't know he was my cousin. How? Right? Like, this is what I'm saying. When you push aside, you know, your identity, or when you let other people identify like who you are, they write your own identity, then you just lose all aspect of yourself and who you are, where you come from. So you gotta find your own identity. You gotta write your own narrative and just be open to everybody, not just the Chamorros. You know, I'm not saying I'm gonna slap myself in the face and tell me not to stop hanging out with Chamorros. Like, I have some Chamorro friends that are like hella dope, right? Be open to everybody. Everybody. I always see random. I'm very weird. I see random people on the street, and I'll be looking at them like, man, they're beautiful. Like, I would just go up and be like, oh my god, you going off today? Like, you know. And I'm a little fruity, so I'm just putting it out there. Like, I'm a little fruity, not all the way fruity, but I am fruity. So I love people. Like, COVID quarantine is just not good for me because it's keeping me from people. Like, I'm not meeting strangers like I always thought I would. So yeah, I would just go to my past self and tell him, just love yourself, love who you are, and love strangers, get to know them. Everyone comes from different experiences. So just enjoy that. Thank you. I'm sorry, but thank you.
Thank you, Deshawn. You're awesome. But I think I kind of used up all the advice already. If the kids were here, they'll be like, oh God, here she goes again. Here goes Miss Jayceleen again. But thinking back to my younger self, I would just say it's okay. You know, be comfortable with being uncomfortable. And like I always tell these kids, like, take up every opportunity that comes your way take it up because opportunities don't wait, and you'll figure it out. Just pick it up and you can figure it out on the way.
Thank you all so much. Oh my gosh. First of all, your younger selves, it's proud of y'all. Period. And we love to hear the advice of rewriting our narrative, being proud, and taking advantage of all the opportunities that comes your way, learning to rest so you're not exhausted. And if you are exhausted, rest. Like the world will not end if you put your hand down to sleep, to sit. Like you're okay. It's okay. Thank you all so much. Sorry for taking up like what, an hour and 9 minutes of y'all time on a Sunday evening. Thank you so much for everybody tuning in from everywhere else. If you have anything that you want to say before we do our closing, you are welcome.
I just want to say, sorry.
Go ahead. All about it.
I want to say thank you to Jace and Deshawn for sharing everything. I was so speechless. Like usually I share things where I'm like, oh, they're on fire. So I'm like, they took the words right out of my mouth, and they said things that I thought about before, but I just didn't really know how to explain it. Especially what Deshawn was talking about. I can relate. When I was younger, especially in elementary, I was in that group where, well, I hung out with a lot of people who weren't Micronesian just because I was kind of ashamed to be around my people. And I guess I was just brainwashed in a way, especially because I knew, living in Hawaii, there's a lot of negativity here. Like people move out of the state so they can get away from it. And, as I was growing and I started hanging out with Micronesians more, it made me appreciate the people, and it made me appreciate who we are, why we're so prideful and everything. So to kind of like follow through with the other question that you asked now is like what advice you would give to other people or like your younger self. I'd say like just be proud, because we only have so much time in the world, and being proud is not the main thing. Like I've never seen anybody who's more proud than Micronesians are, and I'm like so blessed that I am even Micronesian. So yeah, thank you guys for just being on fire. Thank you.
Thank you, Britt, for sharing. If no one has anything to share, I would like us to, if you want to speak, especially to our guests, to say their gratitude to a person or persons that they want to say their gratitude to in this space. I think that it's awesome to wrap it up with a gratitude towards them or even for yourself. This is the space. Chase, you can start us off since you're already unmuted.
Can we just take a moment to just appreciate all our Micronesian kings? Deshawn, Simeon, Philios, Bradley, and all the ones who are not here also. You guys are just awesome. But before we continue, there was a point that or something that Deshawn shared about Micronesians being his family. He likes to go out and just help any Micronesians that he comes across. And I cannot stress enough how important that is for us Micronesians, especially during these times, to really be that family, be that village for each other, and to extend that same energy towards our kids, especially the ones who are out on the streets. just be that village for each and every one of us. And I think that in itself will also serve as an example to our, the extended community out there.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. You know, I'm so grateful. I think why I love people so much is because I've been denied people. Like, I don't, it's one of those things where, I've always kind of pushed myself away from other people because, I'm scared, I'm ashamed that they find out I'm Micronesian. So now that I'm like okay with who I am, I'm very proud of who I am. Like, I just go out of my way to help like random people. Story, I saw, like, I met this Micronesian, this Chuki's family. There was just like a lady and her kid, and they were walking out of Walmart, and I was walking out from behind them, and then she just started talking to like the little kid in Chuki's. I was like, oh, I was like, you guys are Chuki's? And they're like, yeah. I'm like, oh, have we talked to? Oh, Bogan, no, I did too. Like, I just gave the little kid my Gatorade that I went in and bought. So I just, there's like something like a certain satisfaction that comes with just not just helping people, but being there, being present in other people's lives, and like doesn't matter how big or small a thing that you do for them, it's just there. Like, I'm just grateful to be who I am and be where I'm from. So thank you.
Thank you all for sharing your gratitude. I'm going to say my gratitude if that's okay. And then we can just do a popcorn style of whoever is to the right of you or left of you. It doesn't matter. I would like to say my gratitude first and foremost to our guests. Thank you all so much for coming in, sharing your beautiful words, being here. Your presence is definitely appreciated. Second, I would like to give gratitude to everybody who's tuning in, all the Micronesians, tuning in or not, the ones that have access to Zoom or not. This is for them, right? In fact, I don't know if we mentioned in the beginning, but we are recording these because we put it on YouTube so that people can tune in, they can listen. Our Micronesians that can only tune in via YouTube, this is also for them. And my biggest gratitude is, and I am included in this, I don't care what age you are, you're still a youth in my perspective. You are a growing Micronesian and healing Micronesians, which is most important. And my biggest gratitude goes out to all of us youth, the ones on the streets. God rest the ones that have left, the ones that are here, the ones that are growing, the ones that are not even born yet. My biggest gratitude goes out to all of us in all human form. Thank you so much. And I'm going to pass it on to Trina.
Hey everyone. Thank you so much, Nelly, for I don't know if it's you and Mimi that put this together, or like, and Brittany that all organized to put these conversations together, but I'm just so thankful that y'all recognized the need that we have to have these conversations and to prioritize it, even if it's like once every few months. I feel like I could go on forever with gratitude, but I'll be specific in giving gratitude to Jace. There's a panel that Jace was on, like, I want to say it was a month ago. It was with the Masters of the Currents panel. And something that she said that has resonated and stuck with me for a while was naming that, like, you don't have to be the loudest to be heard. And to get your point across. And that's like stuck with me for so long since she said that. And it's helped me even in my journey of reclaiming my ancestry, even if it's taken me so long to start the process and get there. But I'm just so happy to be able to like learn from one another, regardless of whether we're the loudest or the most charismatic, or, more reserved, but we all have power in our voice, regardless of how that comes out. So yeah, thank you, Jace, for reminding us of that. And I'll pass it to Angela.
Hey, so I want to kind of do the same thing and give my gratitude to those who hosted, those who spoke. And I want to kind of follow Jayceleen in saying that I do want to voice out my gratitude for the gentlemen in the room. I think that we have a lot of females in this generation who are doing great things. So gratitude for that, but also a lot of gratitude for our young kings who continue to also represent for the men in our community, because I think if we're not really seeing these patterns, I'll be very open to say it, but I think that a lot of the people who are villainized in our community by the media or by whoever is usually our men. And so I'm so proud to see the men who showed up in this room tonight, because I think you guys are doing great. And I love that Deshawn even shared like the story of like giving his Gatorade to a child, because I just feel like it's stuff like that it's a tiny thing, but it makes a difference, and it shows that positivity that like we offer to others in the community. So it seems like such a small act to give someone a Gatorade, but it really does show that we're so much more than what people are portraying us as. And I want to continue to also show gratitude for our youth. I'm probably one of the older people in the room. I'm in my 30s. And so I'm at a weird age where I think that I'm learning a lot from older people because they have wisdom that I have yet to understand, but I'm learning a lot from people who are younger than me, because younger people are seeing the world and understanding it in ways that I haven't yet, like I'm not hip to. So thank you all for showing up. I'm so proud of all of you. I'll try to figure out who I'm gonna pass it to. Bradley, I'm gonna pass it to you.
Hi, thank you for passing it to me. I don't know, like I'm grateful for a lot of things, but I'm pretty sure you guys are, like you guys summed up everything you guys are grateful for, and that's pretty much my same answer. I'm also grateful for the fact that I was on Instagram like 2 hours ago when I saw Deshawn's story of this seminar, because I was like, there is no better way to spend my Sunday afternoon after a long, exhausting day of work. I find this to be like the perfect use of time, because if not, I would have been playing games and killing my own time. So thank you guys for doing this and hosting this seminar, and I really appreciate it. So thank you guys again, and I think I'll be passing it to Simeon. All right.
Cool. Yeah, thank you again, Nelly and Brittany, for hosting the space. Thank you, Jayceleen and Deshawn, for sharing your truth, as well as like everyone who shared, like Trina, really thank you for sharing. Bradley, thank you for sharing. And I think one of the things that, like, as a gratitude and a reminder is when we do get together in these spaces and share our experiences together, we're collectively building knowledge and wisdom together. And so I think that's every time y'all share is really powerful, and I learned quite a bit. So that's one of the things where I want to share my appreciation. And yeah, I just send many blessings to you all. I'm looking forward to building with you all in what other capacity, but I'm just really thankful for this time and space together. And I think, like Nelly, like I know we talk about being really unapologetic, but like we chose to be here, so you don't need to apologize for us for taking the time. And so we chose to be here, and I think it's a gift what the space is, and so thank you.
Thank you, Sims. Who do you pass it on to?
Oh yes, let's pass it to Gracelyn.
Hi, everyone. I just want to thank all of you for being here, and for being just present, taking up this space that you all have collectively, created. I'm really grateful just to hear, the experiences that you guys are sharing about. And yeah, just many, many thanks to you all. And I hope you all have a blessed week. Thank you. Oh, I'll pass it on to who hasn't gone. I don't know who has.
It's in the room.
I'll go. I think I've never spoke yet. Is that okay?
Yes,
You're
yes,
good.
you're welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for hosting this space, and thank you to all those that shared. What an awesome place to come and hear your stories and to share the emotions that we face as Micronesians, being discriminated against, and our continued effort to educate others of who we are, where we come from, and our identity. And that's something that we find strength in our culture and our people. So thank you very much for hosting this space. Um, Several things that I would like to share. One is our upcoming Micronesian Festival on May 29th, which is this Saturday. Um, I do not know if I have your email, but I will send it to Jayceleen, and maybe I'll send it to the Traveling Scatos page. I'm a big fan. I love traveling and I love following your page. um, I will send the link for the Zoom, and also they usually go live on Facebook and YouTube. So I probably have to get the page names for you too. And I very much similar to your stories. I grew up in Hawaii, went to school here, and discrimination in Hawaii against Micronesians is very bad. I, it a place that we think they have similar culture and stories as us, but yet Micronesian are discriminated against, and racism against Micronesian is bad in Hawaii. In fact, during COVID-19, we were struggling to receive the services that were out there as Micronesian because of language barrier. Um, there were no interpreters for Micronesian available. There were no services for Micronesians. And most of the things that were made available were posted in English. And by the time it was shared to our people, the problem was either we did not know how to go online to apply for it, or we do not know where to go to get the source that we need. Luckily, there was a group of advocacy that were done by the NHPI group, and Department of Health was able to reach out to our people with the help of contact tracers. And it shows the success of this group that the number of Pacific Islanders dropped dramatically. The numbers of cases were decreased from where it was. So the fact that we don't have representative in the state and in the different department, we were not able to reach our people and know the needs of our community. So it takes people like you guys and are those who are in leadership to be the representative for our people in order for us to get services and for our story to be heard. So continue whatever you're doing. We're heading in the right direction. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for everyone who spoke and everybody here. I'm still here after like an hour and some minutes. So tapos to our speakers and to everyone. Everybody's stories is so valuable. That's why we have these spaces. And if you have anything that you would want us to tap into next time, definitely sent it to the traveling Scato. Also, and I live in the hood, so excuse the people zooming through. um, but if you have anything that you want us to tap into and also talk about, if you want to be our featured guest speaker, please let us know. We love to hear from you. But I really, really, really appreciate Chase and Deshawn for speaking and answering my questions today. Thank you so much, Britt, Simeon, Gracelyn, Angela, Trina, Bradley, and Phileas, and those who already left. Cristo Tapur, from the bottom of my heart, sending you all love and strength. Keep continuing doing you and rewrite your narrative when you have to. Rest so you're not exhausted. And if you are exhausted, you have permission to rest, period. Thank you so much. Britt, you can take it away if you have something to say, but I think I've taken up enough of your Sunday. And yeah, thank you so much.